Indeed, we are here for you, just like Johnny Drill, saying, how are you? And I'm here for you. It's 95.1 Nigeria Info Abuja, here for you, especially not just by ourselves, but here with our elders for Town Hall meeting. A very special welcome to the Elders Council this morning. Good morning, Dr. UsanforGod. Yes,
morning,
I know I call
Dr.
you
Somi.
Doctor. And good morning, Mazi, Destiny, Anthony. Good to have you here, sir. Welcome. It's always a pleasure to be able to discuss matters that are affecting us here in the FCT, here with you all. Hopefully, Madam Eunice will be joining us at some point. We hope she's able to make it. But let's get on with the conversation. Over the weekend, the management of an Abuja-based Chinese supermarket came under fire for denying Nigerians entry into the facility. Now, I know we have a way of coining these things. So when we say the management, what exactly happened is that a number of people at different intervals went to this place, which is located at, I think it's the
China Road.
Yes, the China General Chamber of Commerce along Umaru Musa Yaradua Road. That's Airport Road, and they went there, to just be able to gain access to the place and do one or two things there. And apparently they were denied entry. The gate man there said since January that they had stopped allowing Nigerians entry into the place. And, everybody was like, how is this possible here in our own country? We cannot gain access to a place because it is owned by Chinese, operated by Chinese. And, of course, the conversation was social media spaces were awash with this conversation over the weekend. And so we need to discuss, really, do such things happen here in the FCT? Why do they happen? What are the implications? It's not like you can't, according to the story, there are Nigerians working in there. But you, as the patron, could not gain access. The ones who were working there, was said that if they gained access to the place, this is according to the video that was put out, that those ones in there would lose their jobs. So even if a Nigerian does gain access to the place, you as a Nigerian is not allowed to attend to the person because you can stand the risk of losing your job. And so we need to discuss the implications of this here for us in the FCT. Interestingly, this is not the first time it has happened. I think the first time a report like this came up was some 7 years ago. So it's been happening, One time it was a supermarket in Lugbe. One time there was one in Gwarimpa. That one they said is because Nigerians robbed the place. That's why they didn't. But can they do such things? Should these things be happening here in the FCT? I'm going to open up to my elders to join in on the conversation at this point. Mazi, you want to go first? Dr. Usan looks like he's lost in thought, like he's contemplating.
Let him fire on, sir.
Okay. And good morning, Abuja. And thank you, Somi, for having us here today. This is a very funny one. And the reason why I'm saying that is it's okay for us to say, why would Chinese do this to us? You understand? Is their facility, they say their own thing there. You can actually open a business somewhere and say, I'm looking for a particular set of people. Maybe I want to serve only Indians. I want to serve only Hausas or Igbos or Yorubas. We can have something like that, but I don't think it's proper to deny access to people of other race who want to use that same facility. On the other hand, these people know. You mentioned the issue of this Chinese thing. Have you forgotten the time it was a bakery around Usetu or so? Ademola Adetokunbo, I can't remember exactly. We had that bakery. It's still these same Chinese people. They had a Nigerian guy who was working inside that place. There was no ventilation. It was somebody who came to buy bread or something and saw where this guy, they would open a small space for him to pull out bread from. And this guy was sweating like as if you want to sacrifice a goat for Christmas celebration, until somebody raised, made some noise about that issue. I don't know how it ended up. These people, especially these Chinese, Lebanese, and some of these other guys, I feel like they know that Nigerians don't enjoy any form of protection from the government. because I saw the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. I mean, the guy who was supposed to speak to somebody about the whole thing, it's like he was helpless. How can you be telling me that he's only the executive vice chairman that is permitted to talk to the press? What is the job of a spokesperson? Do you understand me? It is not proper. But if truly the reason why they say, let's not allow Nigerians to access that place is because of, like they said in one of those reports that you sent, nefarious activities of Nigerians, on that hand also, you should not also blame them. But I do not think it's proper because I did something wrong in Nigeria Info. Now you're going to punish UsanforGod or punish Elvis. It's not proper. If I have done something, get the police, to arrest me, do the thorough investigation. Then if I need to go to court, they will take me to court and let me face the penalty. But you shouldn't now say because of what Destiny did, UsanforGod, you are not allowed to come to Nigeria Info. Elvis, don't come. Abaka from Bogolada, we don't want you to call in again. You understand the angle I'm coming from? So these people just know that Nigeria is a country where anything goes. They can do anything they want. Okay, now what if government decide now a lot of their companies are here taking contracts in constructing our road and doing other. So if government now decide want to cut off Chinese companies from benefiting from whatever contracts that we are dishing out, they will feel bad. So it's two-way. If when they were setting up that place and from Corporate Affairs Commission they registered their only customers are going to be Chinese and they made that place and government allowed them to set it up, make una no go. How many of us they chop the Chinese food? But if you started it like a normal business that is open to everybody, because I heard from one of those reports that actually people from other countries can actually access that place, but once you're a Nigerian, that is discriminatory. It's not proper.
Okay. All right. We're hoping at some point to be able to get, maybe the management of the place to put out a response or come and respond on the matter to give us some clarity. No. But they should. Isn't that what should happen?
They will not, and nothing will happen unless there is change. Not in Nigeria where we did. That time that this guy, that case I mentioned, I can't remember exactly that name of that bakery. When that case happened, we didn't hear of anything. The owner of that place, went to court, or maybe the person paid for that thing. How can you take a human being and you put him inside that place? No ventilation, nothing. No, look at our construction companies, how they ferry our people to site to work. You use something that used to carry cement to load people from Maraba, from Omani, bring them to town, take them back. In these countries, can you use tipper that used to carry cement to carry human being? Even in some of these countries, for you to move animals like, let's say cows that you want to go to slaughter to kill, you use a proper distance to convey them, let alone a human being.
Okay, so what we're going to do, I mean, Mazi, you were adamant that they would not respond and nothing will be done, but it is our responsibility to at least try and get let it be known that we reached out and they declined to respond, but we will get them to respond on that because there's so many angles to this. And just like you were saying something, if they went and registered and that was how they registered to not allow, I don't think there's any such form of registration allowed anywhere because from the get-go it is discriminatory. But what even happened in this case, and let me just throw a little bit more before we come to Dr. UsanforGod, apparently when they started, when they opened up that place and started the activities, Nigerians were allowed access. The gate man there, who I'm hoping is very, very informed with that information he was putting out, said that it was in January of this year that they stopped allowing Nigerians in. So maybe something led to that, maybe something triggered it, but then whatever it must have been, is this the proper response?
That's why I said,
the conversation that we're having.
Pay. If it's me that committed, you can't just deny other people access.
Exactly. And just again, considering the other incident, this one was as far back as 2016, when there was a supermarket as well in Gwarimpa that Nigerians were denied entry. That one, it was said that is because they were robbed. And so they went ahead to say, if at all Nigerians would be allowed entry into the supermarket, they can go individually and not in groups. This supermarket was around War College Estates, thereabout. So you maybe one or two people, or they said at in some point if you have a police escort, then you're allowed to go in. So to some extent, I mean, if they're responding in these terms to some extent, they're allowed to. This one, I'm not sure. This particular incident, I'm not sure we can call it discriminatory, but there has to be a reason for this. Let's come to Dr. UsanforGod, sir.
I want to start by appreciating you, Somi.
Thank you, sir.
For how well you fitted into the shoes of the LFAC. We know how, in time past, people from different belts have a struggle on this what's happening in Abuja, especially during the chant, and particularly on the Thursday voting. But you did that so well. I think you came in at the time where we're mourning, and the tears in our eyes and emotions didn't allow us to really appreciate your words. Thank you, Somi, for everything.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I've been very, very sad about this story over the weekend that has to do with that discrimination. It is not only appalling, but sacrilegious. That Nigerians will be so discriminated against outside the shores of this country, and then you bring it down home to do the same thing. Now, it left me with several questions in my mind, but you addressed one of those questions. You said Nigerians are still working there. I wanted to say, what currency do they spend in that place? If Nigerians are no longer allowed to go in there? And also ask, how come we have allowed the Chinese so much privilege to control the technology, to control the construction, and now they have the right to decide where we trade or we don't trade? Now, going back to what Elder Mazi said, that Nigerians have some nefarious activities or sometimes pass on that is immaterial. We have had Chinese criminals in Nigeria arrested, detained, and taken to court. We also heard the story of how many of them are convicts in their places, and they are sent to Nigeria to come and serve their jail term. So if we, based on what one Chinese has done, will it be proper for us to allow them to operate and spread everywhere in Nigeria? Mazi also talked about, well, you can actually have a business and you decide who comes there or not. Well, that is totally talking about social stratification. That stratification allows people in the society to be grouped into categories. Categories of age, categories of wealth, class, etc. But social stratification is never enforced. So if you have a supermarket and you have a category of people you want to trade there, it will address itself naturally. There are natural social stratification that comes with your pocket. Some people, I mean, I don't want to mention brands here. There are restaurants in Abuja that I cannot even think of even driving into because I know what it will cost me. But I also know some places where I can afford. So that is stratification by itself. So I also think, to add to what Mazi said, that is a failure of our labor laws. In terms of our labor ministry laws, that only covers or addresses the issue that has to do with the federal civil servant alone. And even when labor want to go into protest to talk about welfare and conditions, it's largely about the federal civil servant. Whereas the private sector that constitutes a larger number of the workforce in Nigeria is normally neglected. Even in the labor struggle, when seeming or semblance of solutions are reached, they never benefit the people in the private sector. Typical example is a palliative that the federal government pays to federal civil servant on account of fuel subsidy or fuel increase or so. Whereas we hear nothing about what is done for those in the private sector, how they are going to be assisted in any way on account of the economic situation and removal of fuel subsidy. So I would think also that the press also should do more than you are doing at the moment, because it took a private person using the social media to bring this information to the public, and every other press, every other conventional press is queuing behind that and quoting his report. This information, first and foremost, should have been unveiled by the traditional or conventional media. So something has to be done. Secondly, Somi, I also want to suggest that whatsoever that is going on or have started going on in that Dean so-called supermarket should be properly investigated. What are they up to? Are they up to some economic crimes? Are they up to some money laundering? Are they up to some sponsorship of certain things? I don't want to mention name, and I'm choosing my word very carefully. Why would you come to Nigeria, make money in Nigeria, have a supermarket in Nigeria, register in Nigeria, and you say we can't go in there? On account of few Nigerians that have, of course, this is Nigeria.
That may have.
Yeah, this is Nigeria. If they were going to be armed robbers, they were likely going to be Nigerians. So because an armed robber or some set of armed robbers have or may have attacked a Chinese supermarket does not in any way give them that entitlement or the reason to shut their doors against Nigerians. If they will continue in this way, I will suggest also that the government of our country should redeem Nigerians and then shut down that place. And if it will not shut down that place, all the menial staff in that place, security, the cleaners, the drivers, the dispatch should be withdrawn. Let them employ their Chinese.
But would that be better, really? This final point that you made right now, would that actually make any difference?
Oh, because I don't understand how a Nigerian cannot go into a supermarket and buy. Meanwhile, you maintain some staff who are Nigerians because they are on the periphery. They do not probably have access into the core operations in that place, and you allow them to be cleaners, you allow them to be security men and your dispatch and your drivers. Why can't you employ your Chinese to be your drivers, your cleaners, and your security if you so feel important of better place than a Nigerian?
But that's another angle of the conversation that we're going to have to get into. Just in case you're joining us, we are discussing discrimination of Nigerians by foreign nationals. And it was important to stress that because though the case in point here is what happened over the weekend at the China Chamber of Commerce, a particular supermarket that Nigerians apparently were denied entry into, these things have happened even before now. For some reason, we keep seeing Chinese supermarket, Chinese restaurant, Chinese. They pop up more often than others, but we're experiencing discrimination in different areas as well. Let's not even get into the discrimination by us ourselves. That's another conversation for another day, because Mazi was mentioning certain work conditions that a Nigerian had to endure working for some of these foreign nationals. When you look at what we do to each other, it's a bit terrible, but let's save that for another day and discuss why they're able to get away with this level of discrimination here in Nigeria. I mean, we're talking and we're engaging on so many levels, and it's really important to have this conversation because it speaks to a larger issue. It speaks to how even our own government views us. Mazi said something. He said a lot of them will do these things because they know that they can do it and they can get away with it. Perhaps while we're having the conversation and trying to dissuade them from such activities, we need to be having a broader conversation with our government. So you have who are the agencies even supposed to monitor these kinds of things? I know in this particular instance, the federal
competition and consumer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. FCCPC. They reached out to them, and the spokesperson couldn't even speak. I mean, we've had him come on the show a few times. Maybe we'll bring him on this week and say what happened there. Why are Nigerians not protected against these kinds of things? Whatever it is that could have happened that would allow for a host country's citizens to be denied entry into such an establishment. And, it's important that we have this conversation, otherwise they will keep happening over and over. Some people think this is the first time. It's not the first time. That's so we need to check it. All right? When we come back from a quick break, we're going to open up the phone lines because I would like to hear from you as well. Have you experienced any form of discrimination? What did you do about it? What was done? Was it reached out to the government? Let's have that conversation after this break. Stay with 95.1 Nigerian Folk.
Are you a tech enthusiast, job seeker, aspiring entrepreneur, or future digital pioneer? Then listen to this information from FGN Alert Digital Skill Innovation Program Cohort 2. The first cohort was a phenomenal success. Yes, we know that. But now is your chance to be part of something even bigger. This groundbreaking initiative brought to life through a partnership between the federal government of Nigeria.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This 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 is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
is Nigeria Info.
Welcome back from that break. We are still in our town hall meeting here on your number one talk station, 95.1 Nigeria Info, and we are discussing discrimination by discrimination of Nigerians by foreign nationals. So it started with the story that came out over the weekend in the FCT about Nigerians who were denied entry into a supermarket located at the China Chamber of Commerce. But upon further investigation and just digging deeper into the matter, we see that it's something that has persisted across different industries, across different parts of the FCT, and even outside of the FCT. The national chairman of the AATSG had to come out to call for an end to the rising incidences of discrimination against Nigerians within the country by foreigners. He says it's something that is fast spreading and we need to put an end to it. He says one such incident occurred in a supermarket in Lugbe, Abuja, where Nigerians were denied access to shop within the premises. And the fact that these things keep happening speaks to a failure of government and leadership. It's bad enough that within ourselves there's discrimination going on the basis of ethnicity and religion and all of that. Then you now have foreign nationals who are not even, they're not, this is Nigeria. They're coming to meet us here in Nigeria, and these things are happening. And it's been going on for quite some time. So he says, look, we need to act on this now. This can't continue to happen. He also gave another instance of a school in Lagos, an Indian international school that does not enroll Nigerian students. He says it's another example of how foreigners from Asian countries and other countries are given preferential treatment over Nigerian citizens. This kind of discrimination is not only unjust, but perpetrates a cycle of inequality and marginalization within the society. It sends a message to Nigerians that they are not valued or respected simply because of their nationality. And Dr. UsanforGod says something. He says it's one thing, is one thing for you have these foreign nationals coming in and doing these kinds of things, and it cuts across. Sometimes it's not even just you as a patron being denied entry, it's you working with some of these people. Imagine the people in that supermarket, if the reports were anything to go by from that security man who said the Nigerians working in that supermarket cannot even, if a Nigerian does enter, they can't attend to them because they will lose their jobs. How fair is that? How crazy is that? You also said something, sir, about natural social stratification.
Correct.
So, for instance, over the weekend, so another huge story that came out was a British school here in the FCT that collects 42 million naira as school fees.
Imagine that.
So in that case now, it's open to everybody, right?
Yeah.
But you on your own, you will know that I cannot, I can't bother going there. That's like a natural stratification.
Yeah.
But it's different from them saying, we've opened this school and because it's this amount, these are the fees we are charging. I mean, there was a 2 million naira registration fee, non-refundable, apart from the 42 million naira. It's different from saying, because this is the amount we are paying, we are not opening it up to Nigerian nationals and Nigerian students. So there is a difference. How can these things be happening? We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube as well. I got a comment from Scott Keane, who was having issues with the headphones. I hope the audio is better now. If it isn't, please let me know so that the engineers can work on it. And at this point, we're opening up our phone lines to responses from you. It's 0700 951 0000. We also have 0809 5974869 and on WhatsApp 080 30137. Let's talk. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, the versatile Somi. How are you? How are you doing? How are your loved ones?
Very well, thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
Good morning, our leader.
Yeah, I greet you, sir.
UsanforGod.
Good morning, our leader, sir.
For your consistency.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
We are taking from your words of wisdom.
Thank you, sir.
You are representing us very well.
Thank you, sir.
And permit me, Somi, please let me also appreciate the media empire of Nigeria Info for your consistency, professionalism.
Thank you, sir.
It's not easy in this kind of economy to fund, operate, and manage a media conglomerate like Nigeria Info. You should keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Profound appreciation to the management and all your colleagues.
Thank you, sir.
The limited scope of this program will not allow us to do justice to this topic. Where do you start? In the contemporary, the famous textile market in Kano, the marketers are complaining of invasion by Chinese marketers. They fill the market with their cheap textile material. So they are pushing a lot of Nigeria out of business. It's happening also in Lagos at Wani Market. It's happening. And here in Abuja and neighboring states, we have Chinese bakers. They are pushing Nigerian bakers out of business. Quarry, a lot of things, small businesses which foreigners should not go into. And they are not being protected. The Nigerian practitioners are not being protected by the law. So it has to do with the policy, government policy. We don't practice segregation, discrimination to any foreigner, whether India, Chinese, whatever. But they have gone to. We don't have Chinese illegal miners in this country. So they should. And in China, because of their local content laws, you can't come and establish even an industry in China. There must be certain percentage, and you can't do certain businesses, you as a foreigner. So it is have to do with a lot with the government and government policy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Good to hear from you. All right, we're taking more calls at this time. We're speaking on the matter of discrimination. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Somi.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good morning to Mazi, Anthony, and UsanforGod.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Justice of Peace.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, ma'am. You see, this matter we are talking about this morning is something I can say is not just Chinese. I think anyone with a yellow skin has this privilege of maltreating Nigerians and go away, or, we Nigerians becoming like slaves to them.
Hello, sir. Oh, dear. We lost you, sir. Please try and call back if you can. We'd very much like to hear from you. All right, then. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Could you turn off your device, please?
Okay, ma. Yeah, my name is Arikos Ozenero Gideon. I'm calling from Madala.
Welcome.
Yes, ma. You see, this issue of discrimination that is happening even right in our own very country, it's a very serious matter, honestly. But if you look at it critically, it's our leaders that ridicule us to those people to have that right. The right even in our country to discriminate. Check other companies that are owned by those foreigners. They just treat Nigerians anyhow. However, I've worked with some foreign companies as well, but to that extent, me, I don't give myself down to them. What I need to do, focus on my job, do what is necessary. Any other thing, I don't have business with it. If they have their own discrimination, it's left for them. But the moment I just sense there's a need for me to quit, I'll just humbly resign and go my way before I'll get ridiculed by anyone. So if things like this are happening in our country, look at the foreigner having a school whereby we, the citizens, cannot really even have access to it. Just imagine the degree of that kind of ridiculousness you give to a country where you claim it comes to invest there. So what benefit to us? I mean, in the other side, what are they really doing there that is making them to discriminate the citizens of the country from going there to study?
Okay.
These are things that demand questions and answers by the government to quickly swing into actions and try to understand, verify exactly what is going on there.
All right.
Thank you for giving us this privilege.
Thank you very much. Thank you. For those of you who are trying to reach me on WhatsApp, perhaps if you can send a message for now so that I don't lose you again, just in case. All right. I see a message here. It says, good morning. That supermarket they're referring to belongs to China Chambers of Commerce and is not open to general public. CBN clinic in Garki, built with public funds, is only open to CBN staff. What about that? Charity begins at home. I would like us to respond to this one.
This last message you read,
Yes.
that caller is not correct.
Not correct, yeah.
If I work in Nigeria Info and Nigeria Info decides to have, what do you call it now, a clinic for staff, it's understandable. It means that if you have to use that clinic, you have to be a staff. And if you're not a staff, you're likely going to pay higher. The ASO clinic in Aso Rock is not only for staff of Aso Rock. Outsiders do use it. And so if the supermarket just started closing their door against Nigerians in January, what has happened since it was there? So when we want to give examples to portray our point, let's give practical example. We have agreed that the situation is not palatable. In fact, everyone that has been calling and commenting, including us, who have been avoiding a particular word, and I want to use that word. What is the meaning of racism? Racism is antagonism, prejudice, stigmatization of a particular person or a group on account of different categories, but in this case now, skin color. Now,
and nationality.
Yes, in this case, nationality. Now, I don't know when Chinese became so... Chinese, I used to consider them inferior people in terms of...
Oh, my God.
Yes, because...
Is that I'm not quite sure that's the right word to use.
Okay, let me withdraw that word. I don't get this aspect of where a Chinese person sees himself superior to a Nigerian or an African. China was not used to be a place where people crave to go to, even till date, compared to Europe, compared to America, and to some other part of the world.
But some people would argue that with you based on the technology and
they will
the way
argue
they've been
that
able to thrive.
Yes, they will argue that because of how they have brought their economy to a point whereby almost every country in the world depend on them for one thing or the other. But to me, I do not see them as being that superior. Now, if you come to Nigeria as a prisoner from your country, because we heard here that some of them are convicts from their place, they're serving jail terms here. They come here to do construction, they come here to do some other things, after which they go back.
I'm sorry, they're serving jail terms here?
Mazi, have you not heard that?
No, I've heard that.
Yes, even on this platform, that yes, some Chinese are in Nigeria on account of the fact that they were sentenced to jail in their country, and the place to come and serve the jail term.
It's more like sending them here for cheap labor as well for their Chinese companies also.
Okay, maybe we should add the word allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. I don't Mr. Daniel will like this. Allegedly. Yes, and now, so if such people come to this country and then they have access to a supermarket, then Mazi cannot have, Somi cannot have. I mean, it's so painful. I am actually controlling myself to not to use certain words that may not be radio friendly.
Thank you for doing that, sir.
Yes, I think that we should not accept this. It's sacrilegious.
Okay. Now, the question is, how do we then follow this through? Again, I've said that we're definitely going to be reaching out and seeing if we can get them to come and tell us their own side of the story. Why this? And whatever the case is, what's the authorization that they have to do this? Because it's not done. Whether you like it or not, it is discrimination in one form or the other, and it shouldn't be let to stand. And it's not just regarding the Chinese national. It is regarding any establishment at all that is owned or operated by any foreign national. It's not the way to go. You cannot be discriminated against citizens of your host country. There are ways to, and I'm saying this because it's been done in lots of places. You can set a certain standard that you know that it is only people of a particular social class that can do that.
Yeah.
But to deny outrightly,
and enforce it, you are not enforcing it.
Especially when other nationals are allowed entry, except the nationals of your host country, then it doesn't sit well at all. And, you know, it brings up even broader questions like why. You asked a very important question. What currency is being spent in there?
Nigerian currency.
It is the China Chamber of Commerce. So, and I know it's this huge swath of land. So apart from the supermarket itself, which is the building with the dome, there are other, what they call it
businesses.
businesses and building and offices. It's okay to say, okay, beyond the supermarket, you can't go within a certain area unless you have a certain authorization, and things like that, because to some extent, it is the Chinese Chamber of Commerce, the China Chamber of Commerce. It's okay to say that, as opposed to an outright ban of entry into the place. I think that's the area that we're having this issue with specifically, okay? As opposed to what you see, I mean, even in embassies, where it is like that is their nation here in the host country, it is not an outright ban.
True.
It is not an outright ban.
Yes.
With certain authorization, with certain explanations, you can gain access.
The American
into
embassy has a library there, of which some Nigerians go there to. My wife goes there to read, and then you have some tickets, some things that allows you into the library. Now, let me address this concern about some people that the reason why they have come up with that ungodly measures is because of armed robbery that
Various
took place.
activities.
Yes, armed robbery in a War College supermarket and so on and so forth. This is Nigeria. If there will be criminals, if there are criminals, they have to be Nigerians. Now, if you have such concerns, you should address it by putting in some security measures to curb that.
As a matter of fact, we will even help you in apprehending such criminals.
Correct.
Where the opportunity is, because they're giving us a bad name.
Yes, that's correct. And so you can't just say because there was a robbery incident somewhere and then every Nigerian has become a robber to the extent that you have to pass them through unnecessary scrutiny before they can have access into your facility. And what is the need of having our security architecture if you cannot, beef up your supermarket with additional security personnel on request? And now, okay, does it mean that in China it's totally zero crime? It may not be zero crime. If it is zero crime, how come we have convicts who are sentenced to jail and they have sent to Nigeria to come and allegedly do cheap labor?
I sometimes you really don't blame them. This is the responsibility of the government. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not only even Chinese. I mentioned Lebanese and some other, countries that their people come here to do business and they treat us like as if we are slaves. On the other hand, do you also know that sometimes they even use Nigerians as well to do some of these things?
Against us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
There is a particular company I used to buy something from. And then you enjoy certain things, that will come with when you buy in bulk, you get some things. Then at a point, there was a particular guy who used to deliver to me. But I noticed that some of those things, they started cutting it off. And I asked the guy, I say, what happened? At least this is the thing that, motivates people to come to, you people. I said they employed a new Nigerian guy who is in charge of, I can't remember, that he was the one that, said they should start taking out some of those things. And not quite long, some of them who used to use their vehicle because they don't have their own delivery van, I can have a car and decide to use my car, to be working with them, get percentage of whatever thing I do. And they started pulling out because you employed your own a Nigerian in that particular place, and he starts making things difficult for his own people just because he wants to be in their good books.
Eye service and all of that.
There is that as well.
Yeah. So most times as well, it is still Nigerians in that place that might even push them. On the other hand, just like I said before, I will still put the blame on government. It is their responsibility. You can't go. It's not everywhere in Africa that this thing happens. You can't go to Rwanda and you want to set up, from what I read and from what I've heard about that country, number one, even whether you're Chinese, whether you're Lebanese, you're bringing some, there are jobs that are for Rwandans.
Local content laws.
There are jobs, that if it's 30%, it's 30%. You can't add, you can't remove, they protect their people. There are things that you can't do. And even when you are in that particular business, there are some other things that you can't get your hands to because those ones are allowed for the people in that particular country to. That is how you don't bring in people just because you want for it. Because you know why sometimes I feel like government, they have this attitude of come in, do whatever you want for as long as you're making, money and then you're paying us tax. So that you don't say, Shebi, you say, let investors come. Is Dubai not asking for people to come and invest? But you don't go there and do anyhow. You don't go there and treat their people anyhow. Do you understand me?
Yes,
because
sir.
you're looking for investors to come and invest doesn't mean they should turn your people to, slaves. So I have to blame the government.
Okay.
They are to protect us. They have to make sure that these people do the right thing. And this has been going on for years.
All right. So we're using this opportunity to call on the government, or whatever agency is responsible for driving this, and the federal government, all of them at large. We need to uphold the principles of equality and non-discrimination enshrined in the Constitution. And sometimes, you know, when you look at these cases of foreign nationals and Nigerians, you see that we're very open, we're very liberal, sometimes even to the point of losing ourselves. So it is unfair that there is that openness and there is that welcoming nature, and then it is now used against us, and then, you know, it turns around and bites us in the foot. So we're calling on all the government officials who are responsible for ensuring that these places are checked and this discrimination stops, as a matter of fact, immediately. Again, like I said, we will reach out and see if we can get a response from the China Chamber of Commerce as to where this is coming from, because it is absolutely, absolutely wrong that foreigners will be allowed to discriminate against Nigerians in their own country without facing any consequences. Time will not permit for us to dig into this a little bit more. Maybe I have room for one caller. If you can keep it at under a minute, it would be great. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Somi.
Good morning, sir. Very well, thank you. Sir, you have less than a minute, please.
Okay, I equally greet Destiny, Antonio, and UsanforGod
Okay.
Nice.
for your
Good morning, sir.
insightful analysis. Well, my name is Obedient Elder Conritoni, calling from Abuja.
Okay.
You see, to start with, people like us that studied abroad, we've lived abroad. Personally, I lived in Europe and in the United States. Look, no such laws exist against the citizens of the host country that you are either a student or doing any passive job.
All right, sir.
Now, the
Time is running out, sir.
Our leaders,
Yes.
our leaders are compromised, you know, both diplomatically or otherwise. And don't forget that we are owing the Chinese
Okay.
over $58 billion US.
All right,
So,
then. Thank you, sir. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry we couldn't get into it a little bit more. We have to go for a quick break now. Stay with us, 95.1 Nigeria.
This is an announcement introducing the essence of true
So they're paying
authenticity.
This is Nigeria Info.